Hey guys and girls, and welcome to this episode of The Finnovator with me, Stuart Bell. Today's has got a bit of a backstory. If you know Naomi Christopher and you spent time with her, you'll know, firstly, that she is one of the nicest people you'll speak to. But secondly, how much of an expert she is when it comes to marketing, in particular digital marketing. And this session I ran with her, which is actually a live recording from one of our 2-day Excelerator events that I run with program members, is I think illustrative of how easily she was able to talk about digital marketing principles, what to do, what not to do, but more importantly to do it in the context of advice. A really great conversation that myself and those who attended will tell you how useful it was. But the interesting thing is I had the opportunity to go to San Francisco on behalf of Implemented Portfolio, Santi Burridge. Thank you so much for inviting me. There's a story behind that as well, who Naomi now works with. And it's interesting. We were there. We saw some great tech startups. We had the opportunity to go and tour various different facilities and really understand how it works over there in terms of financial tech and fintech and all the rest of it. But I remember being at a bar in San Francisco. The cocktails were flowing sweetly, and I turned to her in a moment and said, Naomi, you're a bit of a marketing expert, and can you just give me one bit of advice? What should I do better when it comes to marketing our dairy? And she just looked me dead in the eye and said, change the goddamn name. And of course, I then explained to her why I couldn't change the name and how it meant so much to me. And she said, well, you need to tell the story about how it came about and what it means, which is, by the way, to dare and to go boldly and to do things differently. But to that day, I just remembered so clearly how she was able to cut through and say the thing that maybe I needed to hear at that point in time. As I said, I loved having Naomi at the Accelerator. She was just an absolute wealth of knowledge. She's so much fun to be around as well. And I hope you enjoyed this recording, where we talk about everything from being genuine online and the great, irony of trying to be genuine. We talk about the advice message. We talk about how the proposition can be difficult to get across and what to do about it, as well as everything from medium, regularity, and a bunch more. This was a really, really good session. I came off the back of this completely buzzing, and I hope you will too. If you're someone who's looking at marketing or you've been doing it a while and you're looking for that extra bit that's going to sort of tweak it a bit, because as you know, marketing is one of those things that you can never master and you can always get better at. I think this session is really going to be useful. So I'm going to hand over to Naomi live from our 2-day event, where she's going to talk about digital marketing, a session which I privately called Change the Goddamn Name. Our speaker today has journeyed through fog, cancelled flights, but she's here, and I wanted to come up. So I want to give you background as to why I was so excited. When we sat down and put together a workshop on digital, I wanted to bring somebody who could talk really genuinely and effectively about what digital is and advice. And we made a short list. And there was kind of a name at the top of it, Naomi's. And then there was a big, big gap between the rest of it. And I gave her a call, and I was really surprised because Justin and the team at Midwinter are usually pretty protective. But she said, look, I'll ask and see what happens. And they turned around and said, yes, I'm going to come and talk to you about brand and digital and all things important. You might wonder about the name, right? No, but well, I'm going to assume that you said yes to that and tell you anyway. So I was in San Francisco. I was over there with the Implemented Portfolios Thought Leadership Tour. And we were having cocktails, and I turned to Naomi and said, you're a bit of a marketing guru. You work with a lot of businesses. You work with a lot of branding. What was the best marketing advice you'd give me about my business? And she looked me straight in the eyes and said, change the goddamn name. How dare I? And I was like, it was, and she was spot on. It was like, what the hell is an how dare I anyway? Can't even say it right. And I said, I can't. I'm invested in it. And I told her the reason why. I told her because it was, I like the meaning of it, which is to do things differently, to boldly journey forward, to dare. And I told her the story about how it came, because I was running out of names for the business, and there on my wall was my football team with the motto Adere est facere. And she said, well, you need to tell the story. And really, out of everything I've learned from Naomi and all she's done, in the way she presents herself, the way she presents the brand, is that's the essence of it. It's really about understanding that a brand is about a story. And in doing so, you kind of look into a little bit of, what Naomi's done, who she's worked with, the awards she's got, and you realize that it's not just about the story. It's about you built up an incredible amount of trust in the people you work with. You will be hard pushed to find anybody in the industry who won't firstly tell you how amazing Naomi is at what she does, but secondly, that hasn't been touched or helped in some way by people to get their digital branding right. We can talk about Midwinter, but then we can talk about XY Advisor, and we can talk about the work you've done in the FA. So you've had your finger in more pies than somebody who makes a lot of pies, right?
Workaholic.
Yeah. And then you kind of look into some of the feedback that you get from people out there and some of the awards, and you realize that you're somebody who just quietly gets on with it and just is really very good at that particular side of things. So I want to start by, please put your hands together and give a big warm welcome to Naomi.
Thank you very much. It's awesome to be here, and I am sorry that it was quite a journey here, but I'm here within 10 minutes of starting, so that's amazing.
And look, thanks for being here, because I know, when actually, because they weren't going to have you on until the 12:20 flight. And here you go. Here's Brownie. She phones up Jetstar and actually talks away onto an earlier flight, which I think is pretty impressive in its own, because I don't normally do that. So far we've covered off a whole bunch of stuff. We've covered off on digital marketing. We've covered off on branding. We've covered off on how sort of digital different. So we've sort of made a bunch of topics. And I thought we'd just jump in and start talking about this. And if anybody's got questions, I'm going to sort of do roving and this is kind of an interactive thing. But I wondered if we could talk about social media and trust to begin with.
Sure.
What is it about? What do you see in the way that most financial services businesses market on social media, and how they kind of get the purpose of it or the intent of it wrong? What's your view on it?
Look, I think financial advice, especially post Royal Commission, but I would say way before it, always is going to have a difficult time trying to convince the public, because you're asking, essentially, there's this paradigm of asking for money to make people money. And so people that have no experience with financial advice at all will look at that and think, like, I guess maybe dodgy, scam. They don't understand the value behind it, because I think advisors are still struggling to, instead of be selling their services digitally, we're still using these buzzwords: generate wealth, manage your cash flow, and to the average mum and dad, you're not invoking an emotion, you're not resonating with maybe a particular goal that they have in mind. So when you're especially when you're on social media, when you're trying to market your services on social media, you have probably between 1 and 3 seconds to grab someone who's scrolling through their feed. As you guys know, I mean, if you have Facebook, if you've got Twitter, if you've got Instagram, you know how fast your thumb's going. What makes it stop? So in order to make it stop quickly, you've got to resonate immediately with the person that's looking at it. And often with financial advice, I think we get too caught up in the lingo and not enough in the emotional or social impact of advice.
You know what? Can we take it back?
I may have gone down a rabbit hole already.
What I wanted to ask actually first is, you've been with Midwinter a while now.
Yeah, 4
and you
years.
kind of, you're almost like, you're the brand manager, you're the very much the Facebook. Can you give us a bit of the history of how you got into doing what you do? Is it something you always wanted to do? And how did you end up in financial services?
Sure. Interesting path into financial services. I was doing a double major degree in English literature, creative writing and communications, and on the other side, social and cultural analysis. I didn't know at that time what I wanted to do with it. All I knew is that I loved writing and content, and on the other side, I loved learning how human beings interact with each other. And that happened right at the time social media was coming out. Like Facebook came out 2007, I think, around that time. LiveJournal and MySpace were a bit before then. No one knew how they were going to be used in business, but it was a really good point while I was studying to sort of go, hey, social media actually fits right into this. And then I got tapped on the shoulder by someone who said, hey, I know you've never worked in finance, but I think we want you to come and work. It was fund manager research, actually, of everything. We want you to come and work for us. And I was like, I could never do that. It's too boring. And he said, no, that's why we need you. We need someone that isn't in the industry to understand, to tell us what you think from the outside and then help us market back to those people, because, and that's kind of the journey into financial services. Obviously, 5 years after that, Julian Plummer from Midwinter approached me and basically said, hey, do you want to do some crazy shit? And I said, yes, that sounds good. Sorry for the swearing. But yeah, he was like, let's do something in this industry that no one's done. And no one in the financial planning space was doing anything with social media. Outstanding. They were just sort of doing the same product update, enhancement. But we wanted to create a community.
So why, just on that topic of people doing things amazing, because you look into other industries, and I imagine you probably look into a lot of different areas, and they seem to be very progressed on that in terms of funnels, in terms of audience building. Why, in your experience, is our business been either, our industry been slow to catch up or risk averse to actually doing anything about it?
In terms of actually like doing the digital marketing? I've got a couple of theories. I think one of them is just that as financial advisors, you are numbers people and really good at it, obviously. And social media is one of those things that you want to get firm data out of it immediately. And often the ROI isn't immediate. And so I think a lot of people start it, don't get an instant ROI, and then give it up.
Okay.
I don't think people have been completely ignoring it. I think they sort of dabble and go, oh, I haven't had an instant result. I'm going to leave it, or I'll be complacent and I'll post every 3 months, or, you know.
So I actually would really interested to know, what's your view on the difference between a social media strategy and a content marketing strategy? Is there overlap? Is one very different from the other, or are they part of the same thing?
There's definitely overlap. I would say if you were looking to do it, you'd be two separate things. So I overheard in the feedback that there was someone managing their content strategy down the back here.
Yes, Hannah and Simon.
Yeah. So I tell people when they're doing their content strategy, it's really similar stuff to what you do. Sit down and write 50 ideas straight away. Okay. That's one idea for every year. But your social media strategy is a bit different, because content is about providing something valuable for your client. Social media is about creating a community and a conversation. The two can work hand in hand, but their purpose is different.
Okay. So you're pretty prolific with this stuff, right? How much would you say you produce in terms of posting or articles?
I have no idea, but it's all day, every day. Yeah.
And how important is it, do you think, for advice businesses nowadays to start getting into a habit of doing this?
I think it's incredibly important, especially the content side, because, we've got this ongoing thing. There's 20% of Australians receiving financial advice. That's 80% of people that just need financial literacy, because they either don't think advice is valuable, which means they don't understand it, or they're unengaged with their finances completely. So content for me would come first, but the social media is the platform to post it. Right. So that's why they work hand in hand. I definitely think the time is now, especially considering a lot of the new fintechs that are coming up in the payments section. I'm not going to name them, but there's a lot of negative habits being, I suppose, bred into the next generation of wealth. And it would be really good for someone to come out with a positive message of how to manage their money, rather than treating themselves all the time. Yep. I think the time is now.
So, by the way, if you've got any questions, please shoot them through. Ruben, I'll ask this one while I'm heading over there, but our industry is really good at broadcasting information to people. Mm-hmm. But on social media, people aren't really interested in information as much, are they?
Yes.
Can you talk a bit about that?
Okay. I would say not just in our industry, but across every industry, the valuable content and content that people are going to click on has to meet 3 points. You might have actually heard this before. I don't know if I've heard this from you. Okay. It'll be funny if I have.
I've probably heard it from you.
Yeah, it's somewhere across the line. I feel like we've had this conversation before. One of them, and I tell this to people all the time, make sure that it invokes an emotion. And that, I don't mean like you have to make the person cry, or you have to, be viral and shocking. It means it's relatable. So someone can say, oh, yeah, me too. Actually, does money keep you up at night? Yes, actually it does. I'll click on that. Empathy. So that's the first one. The second one is it provokes discussion. If it's something that there might be two sides of the story on, or if it's something that will start a conversation at barbecues, or if there's, something that will make someone comment on that, actually, I disagree with that. Don't be scared of it. That's good. That means people are going, hey, I'm engaged with that. The third thing would be something that's shareable. So you're writing something that's valuable enough that people are forwarding it to other people, that people are sharing it on their own pages because they're saying, hey, I read this and this changed my life, or this changed my week, or I started this new spending. I mean, you're probably all familiar with like the Barefoot Investor. And if I say it, you'll all be like, ah. But the reason his stuff goes viral is because he has a way with his content of making it shareable. So it's something that people, that's funny working. It's something that people will share with each other. And I think financial advice, some people are doing it really well, but as an industry as a whole, we haven't developed content that resonates or empathizes enough to make people share virally, emotionally connect, and provoke discussion. But like I said, it's not everyone, but there are people making moves, but I don't think, there's a whole industry we've moved there yet.
Yeah, one of the challenges I've found is that engagement, and putting posts out there is fine, but actually provoking and getting discussion, getting engagement, I've found to be very difficult. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've talked about a couple of big personalities that have managed to do that well, but how many sort of financial advice firms have really been able to do that? It strikes me that it's a difficult topic to get people discussing.
It's true. I think a lot of the time it comes down to some of the language we're used to. We're used to financial advice language because we're in this industry. If we say TTR, SOA, generating wealth, peace of mind, what's the other one that
holistic
I hate?
Advice.
Yeah, holistic, goals-based advice. The public doesn't resonate with that. A classic example of something I did with someone once, an advisor, he wrote this piece about making extra contributions to super, and he was aiming it at millennials who may feel fearful that they couldn't save for a house. And the way that he had titled it and used the language was so technical that even though what he was saying was super valuable, like, hey guys, you may not have the money for a house at the moment, but if you start making extra contributions to your super now, at least you're doing something, basically was the message. So I worked with him and I can't remember the title, it was something, I was like, take the superannuation out of it and pick something really crazy that's going to make people click on it. And he goes like, what? And I was like, maybe just make it why you don't need to buy a house. And he was like, oh, I could never do that. And I was like, just make the title why you don't need to buy property. And he was like, oh, but I'll get people commenting saying what rubbish. I'll get people. And I'm like, great, perfect. You don't have to be right 100% of the time. He has this opinion. I mean, interestingly, 6 months down the track, he released a super fund. So he obviously had his reasons why he was doing it. But at the time, I didn't know that. So he put this little blog out, why you don't need property. And it went so viral, news.com.au grabbed it and just put it straight on the front page because everyone's going to click on that because everyone's got the fear of millennials, I can't afford a house. Tell me that I don't need one. Whether it was correct advice or not in that instance is not up to me. But I think you've got to start picking language or picking phrases that people will really go, yeah, that's about me. Like, yeah, that, are you treating yourself too much? Like, do you need to get your financial crap sorted? Like that kind of stuff for the next generation of wealth. Yeah. That stuff they'll click on versus, recently, for example, I saw a post and it's like, are you 45, 55 or 65? If you are, and then for 4 paragraphs, they've already scrolled past.
It's interesting because you see sometimes the best information, but the structure's wrong.
That's it.
And it gets and then you see this information which is so generic and so basic, but the structure's completely right.
Yeah.
So it gets payback.
Yeah, that's it.
Let me ask you, I've been wanting to ask this conversation, have this discussion. Can we talk about authenticity?
Sure.
Has anybody had that experience of being told, you need to be authentic on social media? Be really authentic.
Or you may have seen like some of the gurus talking about being your authentic self, perhaps.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes out about be authentic on social media, be genuine. And then you got other people who are trying really hard to be authentic, which is weird to me because if you're trying to be authentic, by definition, isn't that?
Yeah.
But if we break it down, you're really good at taking a question and just giving really simple answers. What when people talk about being authentic because it gets results or it gets connections or it builds an audience, what are they actually talking about?
I think the problem with that message and it actually upsets me because I can see people following it because people tell them to do it, but they put too much focus on be your authentic self, and so people think straight away it's about you, and then you get a million selfies of guys in Maseratis. I'm on my way to work, or I'm at the Qantas lounge with my glass of wine, and they think they're being authentic, right? And their clients are like, ew, like, yeah, right. Because our idea of wealth and the connotations around that now compared to maybe 20 years ago are very different. The tech industry has brought in this sort of humility around wealth, living simply. The problem with the authentic is there's probably too much focus on being personal, but not your actual self, rather than what I say to people, it's really weird. I got this in hairdressing, but be friendly, not familiar. Just because you're your authentic self doesn't mean you have to be your whole self. You don't have to show everyone everything. Being authentic doesn't mean when your client comes in saying, hey, I had a fight with my wife this morning. Like, it just means what you choose to share. Make sure that's really you. Like, if you're really into triathlons, you could, and you feel comfortable sharing that with your clients, show them your journey and your training and stuff like that, because then they see you as a human. The worst advice I could give is people trying too hard to be someone like a million selfies with coffees, like grind, like wake and bake, and and they're really, really putting it on. You can tell, and you're looking at the photos and you're going, ugh. It's not about trying to put on a persona. It's just picking a few things in your life that lets your clients know that you're human. You know, sometimes it might be that you've just had a baby and you want to show, this is my family. It doesn't have to be flashy, here I am on a yacht. Or
if you're pissed off about something, record a video that you're pissed off. And if you say shit a lot, then record a video where you're saying shit a lot. Yeah. If you are genuinely, you stuffed up and you want to share how it makes you feel, then share that. You know, if it's raining and you got absolutely wet through and you've got to go to a meeting and you're wet through, then that's the kind of stuff that gives people an insight into what's actually going on, as opposed to, hey, it's Friday and we're drinking moe in the boardroom. No.
Yeah, and and always looking like you're super busy. I think that one's another one that people think is really authentic, but it comes across really wanky.
There was a guy,
but it does. Yeah.
There was a guy a while ago who was a trader, and he posted a photo. He was all dressed up. He says, even though I'm coming to the office, I'm not seeing clients, I still get dressed up in a suit because I think it's the mindset. And everybody looked at it. I saw it and I went, that's the Shangri-La.
Yeah.
And what he'd done is he got up in the morning, taking a photo of himself in the hotel room and pretended it was his office with the opera house in the back. So I called it, 100 other people called it, and suddenly this guy has gone from being believable to, dude, you just got up and took a photo of yourself in the Shangri-La hotel.
Yeah. And that's a classic example of, I think, too much focus on self, not enough on the authentic, perhaps. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I was at a conference and Anton, that's it, from Investors Mutual was presenting. And he's quite excitable, and there was probably 300 people in the room, and he dropped the F-bomb as he was presenting, and everyone laughed. It was quite funny, but then he took that as a cue
to keep going.
And by the end, everyone was crying because he just he knew he was on a roll, and he was that's just Anton. He's very excitable, and it was fantastic. I just gave that as an example. My question, though, is, where you say, okay, only 20% of people get advice, there's another 80. you work in financial services. How much of that 80 is reachable, is really a target? Because most Australians don't like money in terms of talking about it, sharing with other people their circumstances. So, yeah, we're not. I don't think Australians are good at
having that conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
True. I think we're a little bit
sharing
British that way.
other things with other people, saying,
especially
I'm doing this, I'm
vulnerabilities.
doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I mean, I wouldn't have the exact numbers. I know that all 80% need it to some description. I think it will totally depend on what you decide as is going to be your future service offering. Because if you're just going to, depending on, I don't know the people in the room and what your service offering is now, but it seems to be the way of the future is moving more into like a financial coaching kind of service where it's not just we provide insurance, super switching, transition to retirement, investments. It's like, hey, do you need to pay off your credit card? Hey, you want to save for your holiday, a boat, child's education or whatever. We're getting more into these goals-based advice. And I think if you can tap into whatever goal this particular person, all of those members of the public have, they'll come and get the advice if they know that it will work, if they have the value in it. But whether everyone's going to be marketable to the holistic suite.
What do you think about the idea? I mean, I'm a great believer that peer groups have a lot of influence on what people do.
Yes.
And if you're in a peer group where money is a topic and planning for money, which, there are peer groups like that, then you're more likely to want to do it with other people. Is there a point at where you can educate using social media peer groups as to this is what certain types of people do and certain types of people don't? Do you think that's a possible solution to the 80% who don't?
Yeah. So, I mean, with the 80%, there's going to be a lot of people, especially, I mean, I'm 32, but between 25 and 35 that you might not want yet, depending on what what your offering is, because they're just not at that point where they have, I suppose, the investments, the money to do that. However, if you can offer a low touch, high scalable solution, which there are like I don't know if if you've heard of Adele, but Adele's doing amazing stuff in this space.
Yeah.
Where she has a Facebook group and people pay to be a part of this program online, like a community online together where they're all focused on, and they're all millennials, focused on sort of, I guess, not get rich quick, but just focused on getting to a good place by a good time. And the community has fostered the success of that group. It costs her next to nothing to run because they're all really helping each other. But she's sort of the guru that sits on the top and slides the content in. Works really well. Very little work.
Yeah, Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Ruben, you keep talking about Seth. Seth Godin's got some great content around becoming the leader of a movement, a community, which is a great way of approaching it. And I think his book Tribes is a great one to pull out. And Seth is he's another one who can just express these really complex ideas simply, and it makes you go, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Yep.
Who do you see doing the kind of social media community conversation part well, both here in Australia and overseas? And why do you like them?
In advice?
In advice, yeah. Or financial services.
In financial services in general? Okay. There's a few people doing it really. I mean, if anyone's in the XY Advisor group, they're doing it well. Yep. And I can say that safely because I started that group. No, they're doing it well. They're really great because they have the time to put into that community. Plus, they let that community run itself.
So you're the Y, right? Is that that's the generation, not the chromosome?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're doing it really well. Adele Martin is doing it really well as well. Who I see doing a really good job across the board is Fox and Hare. Have you guys seen their stuff? If I could get if you pull their website out now, it makes me want to get financial advice immediately. There's a girl with her hand out the window in a leather jacket, of a car, just driving along a bridge. Then they've got people on holidays surfing. They've really nailed down their niche, which is the 25 to 35 age bracket. And their Facebook posts, their content is so on the money when it comes to resonating. Like, I actually screenshotted one of their posts recently. I was going to get it up. And it was like, financial advice isn't just for old rich people. Like, that's literally how they opened it up. But that made me stop and look. So yeah.
I've got one from Adele. I'll share it. Similar sort of thing. Great post. And it's interesting. If you check out Fox and Hare, they do not care if you don't like them. They came up with something just today, and I looked at it and went, you know what? I don't agree with that, and I don't like them for saying it, but they will turn around and say the problem with the industry is there's too many 50-year-old planners focusing on wealthy 50-year-old guys. Yeah. Now, their purpose is not to get us on side. It's to connect with what their audience believe. And their audience in particular do believe that thing. And they're very good at, we don't care what we're going to say, we're just going to talk to the 15% and stuff the rest of you.
And the way that they've even marketed their services, like go to Fox and Hare and to the website and take a look, the wording they've used is so perfect for their demo. They've really nailed down the marketing because they're not, you don't see the word SOA anywhere on that, in that whole website. You don't see the word transition to retirement. You don't see super switching. You don't see any of that. None of that.
Another couple, have you heard of the Financial Diet?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
They're really good. Again, not coming from an advice piece, but they're all about money. Mr. Money Mustache is also very good. Ramit Sethi in the US, I want you to be rich, or I will teach you to be rich. There's a blog he writes called Why Most Financial Experts' Advice is Worthless. And he talks a lot about marketing stuff. And you may not like Ramit's style. He's very brash. He's very aggressive. But he gets cut through, and he's very active on this stuff. Yeah,
well, I went to FinCon last year, which is basically social media and content and podcasts for the US, and it's insane because it's like one of our conferences times 5 million, and there were so many people doing it well. But their approach is very different to ours because their legislation is far less. I'm going to be very careful with the wording I use for that. They have far less legislation than we have. They don't have someone like looking, so they can do a lot of this really spooky personal finance stuff and get away with it without having to follow any compliance. So it's an easier road for them than it would be for us, especially considering the marketing rules around RG234 and all that.
Should we talk about branding?
Sure.
Okay, because you're pretty good at this. So can we talk about, when it comes to brand, who's heard the phrase, get your brand, tell a story, get your brand story out there? A few different people have heard that. How do you actually tell a story? What does it actually mean to sit down and go, what's my story? And then once you've got your story, Patricia, I think you were asking about this, to actually take it from, okay, I got a story, to you turn it into a marketing and branding and all that sort of stuff. Would you mind talking a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's the first part, which is, what finding out what your story is. It is usually the easy part because you're really excited by your own story because you know it and you've lived it and you've experienced it. Usually what I tell people to do once they get that sort of is to pull out the parts that they know other people will resonate with, and then cut them into that, and that becomes your story. With Midwinter, everyone asks why we're called Midwinter. Everyone. They're like, has nothing to do with software. I'm like, yes, but here is a story. And our 3 directors are all actual computer geeks, and our founder, Julian, was obsessed with this video game when he was a child called Midwinter, and he didn't have the computer to play it, and his dad wouldn't get it for him, so he built the computer himself so he could play this game. So then when he came to build the software, he was building the software that didn't exist. But until I came along, nobody knew that story. And everyone would always go, it doesn't mean anything. So I was like, right, guys, we have to tell that story, but we have to tell the parts that people are going to either laugh at or resonate with. Don't tell the 20-minute version that, and then I did this and then I did that. Like, keep the parts that are going to evoke emotion in others and make people go, me too. There's so many people in small business now, and whether you're in a small business too, if you want to tell that journey of your business, there'll be parts that everyone resonates with, especially the vulnerable bits, and the entertaining bits. The funny bits, I think, are always good. Yeah. So once you get into that point, pick the best parts. I mean, you've done it really well now with
With your help.
With Odari is I was like, you need to put that on the front page of your website. Like when people get there, they need to know straight away what that word means, because then they're going to know what you're about straight away. To dare, right?
Yes.
So, if you can silo your story into the things that resonate to people, even come up with maybe three words. I think I did that with you as well, and focus on those. Then you got a winner.
Perfect. Who in the room has got sort of sliding door story? Some story along the way that would indicate why their business is the way it is, why they named it that way, and something that sort of would resonate as, a story which has got a bit of you in it. Who's got something around that line? Nobody.
Or why you decided to become an
Do you wanna
advisor?
Infinity.
This is a story about how I got into stockbroking. Right. How long have we got?
3 minutes.
Scrolling. I was a.
Otherwise, I'll take over.
I was a paper boy at the age of 10. I made $10 a week. I put 5 of that through a pinball machine. I banked 5. I had my money in the Newcastle Permanent Building Society. I was pissed off at only getting 9.5% interest rate. I was selling papers, afternoon papers. One of the old bowlers came in and said, Andrew, I see you selling the Sun and the Mirror and you're just reading the sport and comics. How about you do something useful for yourself? And read the stock market pages. I said, right, okay. He said, well, let's follow a few stocks. Got it, okay. What stocks are we going to follow? He said, do you like lollies? I said, Reg, I'm 11. He said, right, let's follow Allen's. He said, do you know anyone that works at BHP? Half of Newcastle worked at BHP. So, right, let's follow those 2 stocks. And so, in short, I after a very small period of time, I took all my money out of the Newcastle Permanent and bought some BHP shares. And I think the age, I was about 12 by that stage. And then moved on to, I think I was in year 9. And then the mantra in the New South Wales education system at the time was that the world's going to run out of fossil fuels by the year 2000. At the time, oil has plunged to US $10 a barrel. So my year 9 logic, teachers are always right, is that oil has to go up if in 17 years' time there's going to be no more oil. So I phoned the man, sold my BHP shares and bought an oil stock. And of course, all oil stocks were on the bones of their ass. And that's how it all started. Time's up.
Beautiful. So that's amazing, right? And you could say, so that was like blah, 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 and awesome to have got it in that time. And if you wanted to do something on your website to say about us or about our story, you could literally say, my love of lollies, like any other 11-year-old, led me to buy stocks at this age, early interest in investing, a little bit in the middle about the oil if you wanted to, and then and here I am today. And you've got people straight away because you've told a little story about you as a kid. That's kind of funny, but also like really cool. I don't know any other child that's bought stocks, right? And people aren't only saying that's funny, that's cool. They're saying this guy really likes what he does. Yeah, like this guy lives and breathes that. I want him to manage my money.
And he did it in one breath as well, which is impressive.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Every single person in this room has a story like that.
Yeah.
And it relates back to what you did before the business. It relates to something that happened, the way you give advice, the reason you're in business together, the journey you've been on to develop the business to where it is, all of that stuff. And if you can find that story and start telling it and telling it more succinctly in one breath, it turns into a marketing campaign.
Yeah,
right?
That's it. You find the bits that you think other people will resonate with, and then they usually end up being your strengths as well.
Marketing financial services on Instagram. What do we think?
Look, some people do it really well. A lot of people, it's not that they do it badly, it's that it's boring. I don't want to read finance quotes every morning, like the same Warren, like Buffett quotes, and I'm like, oh yeah, like how prolific. And people are the same.
Yeah, Warren Buffett's smart, but he's not sexy smart.
Yeah, you got to make money sexy, really, in a way, because people. The problem is, like I said, most of the time you're not just convincing them that they need advice, but you're actually convincing them to be engaged with their money in the first place. So there's 2 steps.
There's one or two things that we can talk about now. We can talk about testimonials and social proof, or we can talk about the last thing bought online.
Oh, okay.
Which one do you want to do?
Oh, which one do you want to do?
Well, one's kind of interactive,
Yeah.
but the other one's about, and I think testimonials and social proof is an important topic. Do you want to start with that one, and then we'll dive into the?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So a lot of advisors, we keep talking about the value of social proof, of having your clients on your website. I think, Zoraida, you said, once I get the testimonials, what do I do with it then? Can you talk a bit about your view on the value of testimonials, how to collect them, and what to do with them once you've got them to turn them into, audience results and that sort of thing?
100%. I really value of testimonials, I think, is pretty much everything now, because we are a testimonial based society. If you book a hotel, you are reading the star reviews straight away. I went to Bali a couple of weeks ago. Oh, it took me 3 weeks to try and work out where I was staying because I wanted to read that had a problem with that pool. Oh, this had a bar here. You want to read everything based on what other people who have stayed there, right? And it's the same with anything, hairdressing. Where I go to get my nails, I'll check the Google reviews. Absolutely everything we do, we want to see first that someone else has approved that. Or if we're comparing something, we want to see that one was better than the other from other people that have actually gone through that service. So I think it's the most important thing of all. Where that goes in the marketing and testimonial, where that goes down that line for advice is you have to, in the beginning, I say slowly, and then all at once. So in the beginning, if you're not used to getting testimonials or asking for testimonials, obviously you give them a kick-ass service and it's absolutely amazing. And you can even automate that process where they just get a follow-up email saying, hey, did you find this valuable? Would you mind filling out this? And it's like one little comment section, or might even be a survey or a star rating or something really simple. You'll find people will do it without having to be hugely incentivized. Aside from that, what I think is even more important is actually creating a few raving fans. And you get those people just when you give, there's some people and you do just an amazing, and you treat all your clients the same, obviously, but there's some people that are like, oh my God, you've changed my whole life. Oh, a classic example I had, I was talking to James O'Reilly from Verse Wealth, and he said he had a client that he really pushed for him to get insurance, and he didn't want to get it. And 6 months later, he had a heart attack, and he was off work for 8 months. And he was just like, James, if it wasn't for you telling me to do that, I'd be destitute right now. And I was like, James, get him to write that story, then post it on social media. Obviously, you have to ask their permission. You get a few raving fans, and it actually just starts to feed itself. A couple people see anything. I bought a mattress the other day. I wanted to read the rave reviews about the mattress. I don't just want, oh yeah, it's okay. I want to be like, this mattress changed my life. So if you can get a few raving fans, just a few, that will spread. It just continues to feed itself. And also, if you've got a good social media profile, those people will be posting straight to your page. Yeah. And once you get that, then that's there for life. You don't have to worry about where you're collating it. It's all on your social profiles. That's where people go to find you. I know I've heard a lot of clients really push for the Google review as well, which is great, but it can be hard and a manual process. But if you've got the social media profiles going, it almost just happens.
What's a good way to ask? Have you seen, to go out to a client who's saying nice things and say, would you mind giving me this or giving me that? What have you found is a good way to just ask for it?
I think timing's a good thing. So if you're asking while they're still really happy, right after something, if you ask someone 6 months after they've seen you, their emotions towards that have died down. But if post seeing someone, that's why I was like, the automated email is always good. But if you're going to ask in person, I always like to say the thing, do you mind doing me a favor? Do you mind doing me a favor? I have to get reviews, or I have to get client reviews for our software all the time. And I always, Brett, do you mind doing me a favor? I need this. It's 50 words. You love the software. Do you mind doing me a favor? And usually he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Oh, I need a reference. Yeah, no problem. If you're asking people to help you out, rather than, can I have a referral? Can I have a testimonial? They're more likely to go, yeah, because people feel good when they help people.
Is there any particular kind of client to look after? I've read a lot of stuff about super connectors.
Yeah.
There's certain types of clients who are just more likely to connect with people, refer people. Can you talk a
Totally.
bit about how do what's your view on picking your advocates?
Good. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I know often you're just having the clients that come through the door, but if it does seem to be, and I know I say this from my point of view, but like the younger generation at the moment that's quite active in reviewing stuff online. So, and they don't need a lot of prompt to do it because they just do that automatically. Like, we get an Uber ride, we're like 5 stars. It's inbuilt into who we are now. That to just review everything. So I would say if you're looking to get it on social media, that they're a great people to focus on. I mean, obviously influencers, people that, if your focus is on mums and dads and cash flow and things like that, then obviously pick mums and dads that might be in another big group of mums and dads, or, where they're going to be talking all together, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Social people.
Yeah.
If someone's living in a cabin on top of the Blue Mountains, never speaks to anybody, probably not going to endorse you. But if they're in Inner West Mums and they know a lot of people and they've introduced you to a whole bunch of people and they're kind of that glue.
Oh, that's it. Well, look, Catherine Gross said she gets the most referrals from her hairdresser. So, because she does her hair and then the next person and did you know the last client I just had did amazing, she just does divorces, amazing stuff in my divorce, and then this woman's going, oh my God, I've got to use it for my divorce, and then the next person comes in and she says the same thing. So, I know it's crazy, right? No, but that's what Catherine Gross does financial advice for divorce. I know it sounds painful, but she loves it. So so if it works, right?
Is anyone niche in hairdressers and tradies? It's a really good niche to be in because tradies have got a real need for help, and they often work with hairdressers because it's a really good cash business. You're getting my drift here. Very common combination, and
and they need help.
And if you've got hairdressers that are always talking behind your back, so to speak.
100%. Well, I was a hairdresser for 8 years, so I can definitely attest to that.
Cool. Should we do this exercise about the last thing you bought online?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. I love doing this. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on the kind of appetite you have for buying things online or appetite you have for social media. But I want you to think two things, perhaps. The first thing is I want you to think about the last thing you bought online, and not the last thing you bought online that you actively search for to buy online. The last thing you bought online because you saw a post or an ad or relentlessly saw something and eventually clicked on it.
And write it down.
And
Put
write
your
it
pen
down.
now. Write it down.
And then maybe underneath it write whether you needed it or not, or whether you waited until you needed it to buy it is also another thing.
Give you 30 seconds to write the last thing you bought online, not something you researched. Something not something you researched, right? Something.
No, not something you were researching to buy.
You just went, ooh.
Like not something like, oh, I need a new computer, so I'm going to research laptops. Like the last thing you saw in the feed and went, yeah.
Huh? Mine would be AppSumo. I bought Rocket Link. I'm always buying apps on AppSumo. Oh, it was, yeah. Actually, that's true. I bought some. I bought some tattoo sleeves. You know those tattoo sleeves? It was like $2. I was like, yeah, I'm going to come down one morning with those on. And see how the kids react. And Hermione was like, oh, Dad, you got a tattoo. You got a tattoo. Oh. And Nate was just like, off.
I can't even remember, like, even when they weren't in. Like, one of those things. Okay.
How are we doing?
Everyone got their thing. If they don't participate in this behaviour, even better. Does anyone want to put their hand up?
I was on Facebook and I saw this ad a few times over a few weeks, and then eventually I just went, no, I'm getting that. And it was it's a selfie stick that moves with you called Smooth. And I thought, we need that because we're doing videos in the office. I thought that'd be awesome. Yeah. I should buy that. Yes. So it's a selfie stick, but as you move, it's got a gimbal on it and it moves with you. So and it steadies.
It steadies the camera.
Basically, it moves. When you go up and down, and it basically stays where it is. It's very cool. But you know me, I love shit like that. So.
Okay, so
I just went, yeah, I'm buying that.
Was it the first time you saw the ad?
No, probably the third.
Okay.
And I just sort of, I like that, and then.
And what made you like it? What were the words? What was the image? Or
so
video?
It was a video of someone using it, and I thought, oh yeah, I can see how that works.
Yep.
Works really well. Yeah, I like that.
Immediate value straight away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you remember what the words were?
No, it was more emotion and
Yeah,
vision.
you didn't. Yeah, that's it. So you
That's
evoke the
what-
emotion
Yeah.
straight away. You could see it works.
Yeah.
The way I want it to,
Yeah.
and I need it.
Yeah.
Done. Okay. Any other examples, and then we can kind of talk about it a little bit.
Who else is going?
Yeah.
I bought a T-shirt that was kind of generally a piss take, Nike, and it's got athlete on the chest. And I'm the least athletic person compared to my brother, and I'm just
Oh, so
terrible.
a bit of a joke,
So it
family
was like
joke,
complete, just something I can post on Instagram,
and it just had the picture of the T-shirt
Yeah.
and no words.
is that
Just the athlete.
athlete.
Okay. So emotion evoked was this is going to be a funny joke.
Yep.
And you saw the product straight away for what it was.
Yep.
First time you saw it and purchased it?
I saw some athletes wear it, so you see
Oh,
the
okay.
shirt a few times.
Okay.
It's like a one
Okay.
they train in it.
Okay. Is there anyone that purchased anything based on the words in the ad versus the image or the video? No. Yeah. But this is really good because it proves a lot of what I'm going to say, which is images and videos are taking over that side of things because they're giving immediate value, immediate impact. People know exactly what they're getting. The problem that financial planners face is that you can't show perhaps immediately in a picture what the value is going to be. But if you pick those visuals or those videos really well, like Fox and Hare are doing with theirs, you can sell a better lifestyle or a dream. But it also means that with the words you choose, you have to make an immediate impact. The words become far more significant because unlike certain products, like the last thing I bought, which is funny because I'm in a room full of men, is Spanx. But it was because there was a woman like putting it on. I was like, yeah, perfect. I need those. Like, I'll just grab them. It's straight away because I just saw that, look, done. Then she puts the jeans on. I'm like, oh, she looks great. Done. I see it. With financial advice, we don't have that immediate result. So the words we choose there have to be really important, and they have to that evoked emotion. Oh, my brothers will laugh at this, or my family will laugh at this. For you, I need this. So either people will want to get there, will want to click on your services or know more because you've caused them to feel something, or you've caused them to feel that they need something. So that's why it's harder work. It really is. But if you think of that every time you try and sort of post something about your services, focus less on the features of what you do and more on the impact of those features, then you're going to get a better result.
This morning, I only just caught this on the ABC on the news this morning. I don't know if anyone else saw it, but they were talking. A study had obviously only recently been done, and it was around advertising.
Okay.
Right, advertising on print as opposed to online, and basically saying it's now moved the other way in terms of consumers are not trusting what they're seeing online because of all fake news or whatever it is, and it's now moving back to print. And it was talking about the papers and how that their advertising spend or is now increasing, going back the other way. Have you seen anything like that yourself? Do you see that? Do you think there'll be any structural shifts there?
I think the one I see where you're coming from, and I see why people think that. My only issue is that the way that we as humans now interact with technology means that for me to go and get the news, to walk all the way to a newsagent, pick up a paper or go to a cafe, versus waking up and going through Twitter while my eyes are still half open, that behavior is not going to change, I don't think. In fact, we know that it's becoming more intrinsic because you can watch it. My 15-month-old nephew unlock his mum's phone. I don't see our human behavior from an anthropological side. I don't see our human behavior pivoting back. I understand that there might be like this sort of wave back, like kind of like occasionally we have like these retro fashions that come back in. But I don't think that we will give up on digital. No way. I think it will definitely keep going the other way.
It's too addictive, surely. I mean, it's going that way, right?
Yeah, 100%.
They're already identifying that.
Yeah.
It's little bursts of dopamine.
Yeah. Does anyone own a printer in their house?
Doesn't get much use.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Yeah, in their house. Yeah, no one. We're paperless, really. Yeah. I know, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it tells you something about the future SOA, I suppose. But
It's like my bank manager turned around and said, "Can you please fill this out and fax it back?" I said,
Yeah.
"Can't fax it
No
back
way.
from where I live." I said, "Where do you live?" I said,
in 2018. It's true. I'm like, fax? Who has a fax? Yeah.
So I'm going to go through a rebranding exercise soon. And as part of that, I also want to figure out my niche market going forward, how I want to market myself and all of that. Obviously, as a small business owner, we don't have the resources to have a full-time marketing person. But like, say, just sitting here and, you know, when he told you the story about as a kid and how you then made that into something really, you know, marketable, what would be your advice in terms of where we should invest in to get that profession, like that person that can turn your feelings and your word and your goals into something that you then can market and be excited about, because we're not marketers, you know what I mean?
Oh no, totally. And I think it's hard as well not to get locked in with consultants, and then they're doing everything all of a sudden, and you're like, oh, whoa, like, okay, especially I suppose in the branding and marketing space, because first they'll do a bit of content and then be like, actually we can revamp your website, actually we can do this, actually, you know, I can keep doing this. I always say start small and experiment with someone. There are heaps of great people in the market. There are heaps of people that will promise you Australia and deliver Tasmania. That's not, I can't discern. That's not sort of my thing. But I would start small, say this, give them one exercise maybe. If they do that really well, give them another piece. And work from there. Then when you find someone that you really niche with, then you just continue to offer them work. And once someone really gets to know your brand, it becomes easy work, and it's fantastic.
Is that more of a graphic designer or a like what kind of professional would you start with?
A branding consultant. Branding consultant. A graphic designer, you're just going to get someone who can make things pretty most of the time. They might fiddle a bit with the content.
But they're not very good at the brand message, right?
Yeah. Okay. Branding consultant for sure.
And the people who do the graphic design and just build your website, they're a commodity, and you can access them really cheaply.
That's
and
it, €5.
The people who can actually tease out the story and do the strategic work, that's a different game.
Any recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Naomi's awesome at what she does, so anybody she'd put you in contact with. But I think Kat Long's done a great job for you guys. There's a bunch of digital agencies which are really good.
Susie Monroe, I don't know if anyone's heard of.
Susie's great.
Amazing. Susie Monroe is really good. Just does financial advice. Yeah, she's really good. Jenny Pierce.
You only work for Midwinter.
She wrote that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. They've locked me up. Like, but at the same time, like, I would always be. If anyone wanted to have a coffee and just pick my brain, of course I can do that. I just can't provide officially any consulting services.
Susie's great. She wrote an article recently I shared with you guys called, I think it was something around basically stop. Yeah, that's her. She's fantastic. She's very well connected. She once shared an article of mine and got on Kitsis, and we ended up with hundreds of leads, thousands of leads from the US.
Yeah.
Completely forgot what I was going to say. But should we talk about common mistakes?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. So we had a little exercise we could do, because I want to dive deep on the mistakes that you commonly see. And one of the topics we were going to talk about is, why do spruikers do it so well, and yet you go and look on financial planning websites, etc., and the proposition's so weak? And I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean, it's like spruikers are like, come here in 1 hour, we're going to make you rich and change your life and all the rest of it. But you go to financial service and we just don't have it. But I was wondering if we want to talk about that first, or do we want to play buzzword bingo?
Buzzword bingo is probably part of that, because I think that's the one thing probably that we're getting wrong, is that before people get financial planning, you have to make them care first. and they won't care if they don't resonate with the words that you're using. A lot of the buzzwords we use and I've mentioned that before, just don't resonate with the public. So maybe that's part.
Should we dive into the buzzword and then we can talk about them? So you haven't seen this yet, but here's what we're going to do. Let's ignore that for a second. Who's got access to the internet? Yeah, it is the 20th. So how about each of you open up your website on your phone. Open up your website. There's also a page on here. I want you to have a look at the list I give you, and I want you to kind of write up or mark off the ones or write them in the boxes, the ones that you have on your website. Now, you haven't seen this, so
I'll enjoy this.
You may turn around to me and go, gee, that's not a buzzword, in which case I'll get back in my box. But
oh, yeah. No.
Here we've got some, and I want you to note down, we've got across the top, wealth, needs, free meeting, you must, you need to, you have to, holistic, first appointment. I hate that one because what comes next? Do it on the front page. Peace of mind, retirement. Talked about the R word.
Yeah.
Lifestyle goals, fact find, needs analysis, risk, budget, comprehensive, one-stop shop, handhold. We will handhold you. We'll hold your hand. Dreams come true, risk profile, compliant, full service and SOA. Are they all? So how are we doing? It's not necessarily that these are bad words. We just want to talk about the difference between what they mean to us and what they mean to the consumer, which is a mistake we often make. We talk about concepts, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. And we think that they mean a lot to everybody, when in actual fact, the person they mean something to is just us.
Yeah.
So, 2 minutes, I'll get it out of the way.
I think the problem is we talk a lot about the services and not a lot about the outcomes.
Yeah.
And it's the outcomes that you're going to get people on because that's what's going to make them feel something.
There you go. Just on your main page. Just go through.
Not one.
None of them.
Hello. Star of the class.
Does yours say Aero 404? Nice. Is it bad if you don't know where your website is? How many people basically identified they got everything? Okay, that's good. How many people had at least, put your hand up if you had one. Okay. Leave it up if you have 2, 3, 4. Keep it up if you got more than 4. More than 5. More than 6. Okay, so most people are around the 4, 5 or 6 mark. So should we unpack a few of them?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about this one. How many people had wealth? Okay, of course, right? We talk about wealth creation. We talk about, your partner in wealth, helping you to make the journey to wealth.
Generate wealth.
Generate wealth. I talk about the wealth pyramid. Why is wealth not the greatest word to use when you're talking about what you do?
Well, I've got 2 reasons why. I think it's a 2-tiered, totally separate reasons. But the first thing is everyone's idea of wealth is different. So, people always say to me, how wealthy do you want to be, or how rich do you want to be? And my answer is, I just want to earn enough money to never have a flatmate and live by the water. Like, that's it. I don't care if it's a hut, as long as no one has to live for me. Like, I don't have a flatmate and it's near the water, right? Someone else might say, I want a 4-bedroom house with a garage and a pool and a blah, 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 blah. Someone else might say, I just want to be able to travel and surf and work from wherever I want. Everyone's got a different idea of what they need to, which I will use as a different, I'm going to give it away now, but a different term for generate wealth, which would be fund your ideal lifestyle. Everyone's got a different idea of what wealth is. The second thing is the word wealth actually has some negative connotations attached to it as well. So from a pure linguistic point of view, and like if I was going to go down the cultural and social analysis path too, the word wealth actually, for people that aren't wealthy and they haven't come from wealth and they're really nowhere near that, don't look at that as necessarily something nice. They associate it with people and a class structure that they were never had access to. Perhaps they don't even want to have access to it. Perhaps there is so much psychological meaning behind that word wealth that isn't positive. Yet we use it a lot because we think everyone wants to be wealthy. And then what it does is actually lock out anyone that isn't. So, and that's a shame because there's a lot of people that are sitting underneath that point that go, oh, advice isn't for me because you're always using the word wealth, and I'm not wealthy. They're my problems with the word wealth.
By the way, don't feel that, if you've got it on your website, this is like,
it's an
you're
issue.
terrible. And what this is about
We're
is
just
also
unpacking
recognizing
meaning.
that, that door we spoke about, that's open and it's closing. This is about, if you want to step through and change the frame a little bit, you'll be doing something that probably 95% of businesses out there never mind they're not going to do, they're never going to do it.
Like I said, it's not that these words are wrong. It's just unpacking I guess the stereotype words we generally go to and what we could do as an alternative.
It's the writer of ZA Wealth Creation.
Oh, beautiful.
So if the word wealth has negative connotations, what's an alternative word that would mean the same thing but in a positive light?
Good word. Good. Yeah, good question.
So that for me comes back to what is the outcome of wealth, and that freedom, alleviating financial anxiety, choice, lifestyle options, fund your ideal lifestyle. For families, it's always having enough for your children. Leaving a legacy. Think about the outcomes rather than the thing itself, because that's why people want to be wealthy, and then focus on those things. It doesn't necessarily have to be one word, but you can use phrases that will help people feel something, and then once they feel something, they're engaged.
Love it. Can we talk about retirement?
Yeah.
Why? Because I think this is one of the things to talk about. So retirement's one of those words.
Yeah.
Why? Who had retirement on the website? You helped me with that. I totally. It's possible. Yeah. Oops. That's why she's a marketing expert. Retirement. Why is that? What are the downsides? What are the dangers of using the word retirement?
People are scared to retire. Yeah, 100%. Look, that's an amazing point to make. My mum is 63, and my stepdad is 79. So she's like, into the older men, and they love each other, and they have the best life ever. But he's retired and she's not. And every time he brings up the word retire, she goes, I'm not ready. She doesn't have positive views of that, because she's like, I still have a life in me. I've still got my practice. She loves the freedom that it might bring, but to her, the connotation is, my life might be going. Yeah. So there is that negative connotation to retirement. The other thing is you put that on your website, and then anyone who's nowhere near retiring doesn't give a hoot. So, people always talk to me about, saving for my retirement, and I'm like, I'll be dead by then. Like, you don't, I never think about that now, because I'm 31 and I'm going to be working for, the next probably 30 years. So at least, so you put a lot of focus on that on your website, and you're not going to be targeting any of the next generation coming in, and we're about to have a huge generational wealth transfer. So you don't want to kick them out.
What about for boomers? Because I've read a bit that the boomers do not want to talk about health. They do not want to talk about the even possibility that they might be getting older.
Oh, totally.
Don't talk to me about it. What do you do with someone like that? How do you talk about retirement?
I think you've got to what's the word? Repurpose it as freedom. And possibly new adventure. And retirement isn't stopping work. And if you go straight away, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this, transition to retirement where you stop working. This is when you're going to have to start getting the Centrelink pension. And you say the word pension or whatever, and they're like, and or whatever, and you have this much amount of money, but it's only going to get you to this point, and if you're still alive at that point, like all of this stuff is awful, right? But that's basically what that is, yeah. Instead, if you're like, right, well, is there anything you wanted to do but you haven't been able to do because you're working? Plan your future. Ensure a adventurous and fun and lifestyle when you're I suppose. I really don't like the word transitioning because I feel like that also has connotations that we're starting to go down. But you know, when you're starting to maybe wind down,
Upgrade to first class. Ski. What is that? Go skiing. Go skiing. Spend the kids' inheritance.
Lifestyle. That's it. Does anyone watch Grace and Frankie in here? No. Yeah. Like there's two women who are 70 who were retired that go back into business, right? It's the next adventure. So maybe that's the way, that's the way it's got to be, like the next adventure.
Okay.
I repurposed something I found online, I think put out by the Wall Street Journal called Unretirement.
Oh, beautiful.
And it just talked about people wanting to connect with the world of work after they'd retired. And it just got an enormous audience of people that I didn't think I'd ever attract. So it was just interesting.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's it. I think people associate retirement with not being useful anymore. That's the biggest thing. Like I said about my mum, the reason she doesn't want to stop working is she's a doctor and she would be like, well, I'm not helping anyone anymore. So if you can, it's not even about the marketing at that point. It's actually about when you're engaging with your clients. Yeah. Really making sure that, and that's part of your marketing, your face-to-face marketing, that when you're talking about that stuff, that you're not making them feel like they're being wound down into the next bit. And that should be reflected on your website as well.
So I tend to think about retirement as just slowly replacing in my life the things I don't want to do with lots of things that I do want to do.
And freedom of choice.
It's almost like a replacement. A replacement.
Yeah, that's it. Going on holidays, cruises, whatever. Yeah,
Are there any others that you want to sort of focus on? Free meeting.
Interesting. I've actually just gone through something really similar to this myself. So just launched Midwinter's just launched a cybersecurity business, which does Camino, which does cybersecurity for financial advisors and accountants, and I had to go through the whole product offering and the same thing. How am I going to market this in a way that's going to make advisors or accountants and superannuation funds feel like there's no obligation in the first meeting? And I don't like the free meeting because there's value in that meeting, and you deserve to be paid for that meeting. And if you respect yourself and show the client that you respect that hour of your time, then they will respect your services. So that's my opinion. It's not necessarily the yes or no. But usually I would say something like maybe a 15-minute free chat on the phone, but I wouldn't use the word free. I just don't use the word free. Just say, do you want to call up and have a chat? If they end up not being a tire kicker, don't book them in for the meeting, but just say the meeting's going to cost this.
People also just changed the phrase. So you used Fox in the Hair, they say book a coffee.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Book a coffee, yeah. Yeah, that's it. And I'm the same. Like, were we going to offer a free consultation? Well, no. By the time you're doing an hour of your time, I think it's my opinion that you don't need to offer it for free, because you're worth that. But if you want to do like a 15-minute or a half an hour phone chat or whatever suits you best, if you're not really into tech, you might not do a Skype or a phone chat. You might just want to do them face to face, and that's fine.
It's not free either. It takes an hour.
Yeah.
And we live in a society where time is actually one of the most valuable resources.
That's it. Yeah. So it's an hour of your time.
I'm going to ask a peace of mind. Is this about this or is it a quick back? Yep.
That 15-minute call, isn't it almost you're tie kicking them as opposed to them tie kicking you?
Go into it like Simon Cowell. You ever see when people come on stage at an Australian Idol, he doesn't go, "Hi, how are you? Come on in, have a coffee." He's like, "So, what can you do?" And I think if you're a bit more Simon Cowell than Delta Goodrem on Australian Idol, it's about the client actually saying, are you serious? Have you got a problem? Are you the kind of person I work with? Are you aware? Are you motivated? Because if you are, I will tell you exactly what your issues are, and I will invite you to sit down with me and spend some time to create a plan. But if after the conversation I get a sense that you're tire kicking, there's no motivation, this is a nice to have, you don't really have any problems, or if you do, you're not aware, then I'll ask, so just help me understand, what exactly do you need from someone like me? Because it doesn't sound like there's anything specific. And that the power of turning around and say, doesn't sound like you need anything from someone like me. You'll put people on the back foot and they'll be like, oh, I thought you were going to try and sell me a first appointment. Different engagement. Does that make sense?
And there's a way if you want to, I mean, just from a marketing point of view, if you want to get the information or capture that information from what that first meeting would be without you having to do it, you can always offer like an online survey or something that's automated from you, scalable, doesn't take any of your time. It's almost like a fact find, but I wouldn't say that. Just an emotional questions. How many times a day do you think about money? Does money keep you up at night? Then you can move into things like, do you have insurance? Do you think you need to look at your insurance? Before you've even spoken to them, you know what these people have, what they're looking for, and what they don't want. And then you can move from that. But doing in 1 hour of your free time,
Good question is, how was your parents' relationship with money? That's always a really interesting
yeah,
one.
oh, so true.
Did you talk about money growing up? Or was it, I watched Sarah Jessica Parker get interviewed for Carpool Karaoke. No, it was comedians in cars getting coffee.
Yeah.
He had a chat with Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld.
And she just turned around and looked him straight in the eye and went, did your parents hug you a lot? Did you play music a lot? And she asked these 3 questions. I was just like, wow. And Jerry Seinfeld was taken away because she went straight to the core. And at that moment, I realized why that song, Jessie Paints a Picture, why it was written, because she's obviously a very magnetic personality, but gets to the heart of people. Anyway, there was a point to that.
Yeah, ask the emotional questions first, and then they'll give the other information quite easily.
Is there anybody else that wants any other? Should we just go straight for peace of mind, and then we might call it quits? If that's cool?
Yeah, sure.
Peace of mind. Which piece would you like? Why is peace of mind not a great phrase to use?
The first is the most obvious, that it's completely overused, I think. And it's very vague. Peace of mind could just be, oh, so-and-so's picking my kids up from childcare today. Like, yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, peace of mind is anything. You actually have to be more specific. And it sounds very 1990s TV ad during the day about maybe a cleaning product, like, it's a peace of mind, like, we're trying to break out of a stereotypical norms. People have seen that and seen it and seen it and seen it and seen it and seen it. You need to be more specific. Means nothing.
Plus the gun lobby in the US used it a lot.
Yeah, there you go. There's a good enough reason not to. If people like the idea of peace of mind, I always offer an alternative, alleviate financial anxiety. If they're really on that side, like if it's about debt reduction and stuff like that.
Fact find and wealth profile. I hate both.
Yeah.
How do you make it more friendly so people actually want to provide the information as opposed to it sounding so dry?
Tell me about you. Yeah. Tell me about you. And then for wealth profile, are you talking about basically what they've got?
Yeah, so it's the same thing as fact find.
Yeah. So then, perhaps, tell me a bit about your financial history. Even that's a bit dry. Tell me about you.
Stuff we'd like to know, so we can help you best.
That's it. Better than I could have said it. Yeah.
Cool. What, Mike? I like this bit at the end when I start running around. You wrote down unretirement like it was going out of fashion.
I'm just going to throw this in, it might be off topic, but at the beginning, I think either Stu or Naomi said something about the there's a new generation of investors who are not doing things the right way or something. And I just wanted to trying to see what someone meant by that. I wasn't quite clear.
A new group of investors
who weren't doing things the right way. There was something
on social media,
doing something in a negative way.
Oh, on social media?
You just. Yeah, habits, or I just seemed like there was I just was curious. I didn't quite understand the reference there.
Oh, it was about positive message around managing money.
Okay, yeah, positive message about managing money. Yeah.
You're saying there's heaps of negative messages about it?
Yeah, that's it. So there's heaps. Okay, so no one in the room's from Afterpay, but I'm going to bring Afterpay up.
That one. Okay.
Afterpay is doing a really great job at marketing debt to young people. Literally the best marketing I've ever seen for ripping money off people. And their share price is through the roof. So they are going gangbusters, selling something really negative through a positive message. It's lay-by with instant gratification.
So it's also a bit about poor habits to people through digital.
Yeah, they're learning poor habits. Yeah. So what I was saying is financial literacy, good habits, never has been the time and now to teach people good habits because everyone's living off debt.
Just what's the difference between a brand and you? Because people tend to buy you as an individual,
yeah,
but you're selling your brand. So mine's Millhaven, yeah. But I often find that they're buying me, and I think Gary Vaynerchuk says it. He goes on about
you are the brand.
You are the brand.
100%.
And people have to be a fan of you.
Yes.
And then they will follow your brand.
100%. I am the snowflake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the branding I think is fantastic, but you've got to be. All the things you're meant to do.
Yeah, and people can pick up immediately if you're not being you, and that is the most unattractive trait. Hey, like when you can tell someone's being fake, and straight away you're like, ugh. So be yourself. You don't have to share everything to be yourself, but yeah, you are the brand, 100%.
I think it's the language and how we communicate things in a way that resonate to our audience or the people we want to work with. Make it relatable, make it emotional.
Yeah. I know we don't talk about feelings, but yeah, it's all about feelings in the end. Thank you so much, guys.
So there you have it. I told you it would be good, didn't I? Yeah, one of my favorite sessions, that one. It's interesting. I didn't want to mention it before, but Naomi is not, or at the time, didn't feel like she was a natural speaker. And as you can see, I thought she came off there and absolutely nailed it. So if you could do me a favor and jump and find her on social media, Naomi Christopher, and just let her know how awesome you thought her presentation. I think you'd give her, the due credit for which she's earned. That's it from me. This episode of The Finnovator is done and dusted. As always, if you love it, do me a favor, go and leave a review. I'd love it on Apple iTunes, but if you're a Spotify or a Podbean person or wherever you get it from, you can pop it there. Written reviews are really what make people stand up and take notice. So if you've got the time, just to give us a 5-star and pop the review in there, you'll do me a real favor. Other than that, if there's anybody you think I should talk to, is there anyone you'd like to introduce? Or alternatively, if you're listening to this and going, I've got a story, I've got something I want to share, shoot me an email, because I'm told, and I agree with it, that the quality of these things is down to the quality of the conversations, and the quality of the conversations has got a lot to do with the quality of the guests. That's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Keep your eye out for the next one. But in the meantime, have an awesome week, and I'll speak to you soon.